Is Disney's expired copyright taking the mickey? Welcome to Mark and Pete. Now, here is a thought.
Hickory Disney dock. Mickey Mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck one. The copyright is done. Trickery Disney shock. Yes,
Yes.
it was the animation that launched the House of Mouse. Steamboat Willie, a 1928 short film featuring the early non speaking versions of Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, is widely seen as the moment that transformed Disney's fortunes and made cinematic history. Well, it seems now that their images are now available to the public in the United States after Disney's copyright has expired. Clergyman Pete, how is your version of Mickey Mouse going at this moment?
Well, I've got the pencil out, and it's mainly black and white if I'm going for the original Mickey Mouse in Steamboat Willie, isn't it? Yes, I think that's one of the key things. It's such a simple design, isn't it?
It is,
Recognizable but
yes.
simple. Um, and if you look at attempts at the time to try and rival the Mickey Mouse success, the characters do look very similar, even with the red shorts. And there was an animated character that Disney created before Mickey Mouse called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which looks very similar. But the rights to that character was bought by Universal Studios, and so therefore he created a character that looked almost identical, but instead of rabbit ears had rounded ears, and that was Mickey Mouse, and the rest
Yeah,
is
yeah.
history. But yeah, that sort of simple, the dark and the light character, and later in color with red shorts, of course, was um, was really the stroke of genius because it was such a simple, recognizable shape. You immediately recognized who he was. That and the fact that uh, he spoke well, didn't speak intelligible words, but in Steamboat Willie, the sound was synchronized, sort of, to the movements of the characters. So you get them sort of making noises and growls and squeaks, all done by Walt Disney himself. So
Yes.
yeah, interesting. Yeah,
Well,
interesting that. I believe that there is in the film Steamboat Willie, there is some dialogue, but it's only spoken by the ship's parrot.
yes, correct. Well, now here's the thing to note because for those folks who are sharpening their pencils thinking, wow, we can now start using Mickey Mouse. Well, let's be clear on this. Now, Disney warned that there are more modern versions, of course, as Clever Peters highlighted, of Mickey Mouse, and they are still covered by copyright. Now, the point to note is that the US copyright law is very different from other copyright law elsewhere. But essentially, it means the rights to characters can be held for 95 years. Now, this means that the characters in Steamboat Willie that we've talked about entered the public domain on Monday, the 1st of January 2024. And for those listening, will recognize that, yes, those are now out of copyright.
Yeah,
Now, a couple of things really strike me about this. Now, those works can legally be shared or performed or reused or repurposed in any way that you wish. So that's one thing. But here's my argument. Now, if you're building your business, which Walt Disney did, a pioneer and an innovator without any doubt in cinematic history, I think that as a legacy, the very idea that even today somebody could possibly reproduce Steamboat Willie is something that doesn't sit very well with me as a business. Because at the end of the day, it is where it's the heritage of your business, the foundation of something that's so iconic like Disney. And to me, I think as a copyright, I think it just needs to be changed. Now, some people will say, but you can't have it, indefinitely. But why not? I mean, if somebody like Disney, as a business, decides to sell their characters, that's a different matter. But the very fact that it suddenly is open season
yeah,
after a
yeah,
given period, I really find this troublesome. Now, it's
yeah,
not just about Disney. There are many other
yeah.
creators who produce characters or even works of art,
Well,
effectively,
yeah.
cinematic stuff. So, just on that front, do you think that copyright should be changed?
Well, I just think with on practical terms, I don't think that you can have it going forever. I think you do need a limit. I mean, 95 years is a strange amount, but 100 would have seemed reasonable at the time. However, the thing is, it's not that simple. I don't think they've lost control of it, because you know you can produce other versions. There were other versions of Steamboat Willie made, the film,
Yes.
because they improved on it. And of course, if you accidentally use the character from that, you're in trouble.
Yes.
And they're highly litigious, Disney, so people do have to be very careful. I don't. I know you're saying why can't it be forever, but I just don't think it can be. I think you need to have a limit. Oh, you could make it. I think that people didn't realize how long these things would be around. Important. Make it 200 years, but make it so that it's definitely out of the lifetime of what you would expect the company to need it for.
Yeah.
I suppose even that's theoretical. I don't know. But I just say I don't. If you make it indefinite, so never ending, it just seems to me that it would be impractical. But maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, let's
maybe
take a
it's
different
point of
let's take
principle.
a different tack here. So Disney as an organization has succeeded for 100 years. Let's be honest. I mean, it's done exceptionally well, and it's really played on the characters that it's created and the family values. Where do you see Disney today in some of the things that we've seen, particularly with some of the woke things that have sort of woven into some of their productions?
Well, this is the issue. Every part of the Disney organization has been infected by woke, which is a little bit to do with, DEI, diversity, something, and equity and inclusion initiatives, which obviously they get financial breaks for, but it seems to be more than that. They seem to be true believers in it, which I don't understand.
Yes.
But what that means is a belief in inclusion, not only of women characters when there were men, black characters where there were white, but of also sexual deviance where there were normal family valued characters. And all of that is put into children's entertainment, whereas Disney himself made sure that his company was known for its family values, and that children, could watch Disney output, and you were sure that your child was going to be safe. But that's no longer the case. You couldn't sit your child in front of Disney Plus and let it just watch it, he or she just watch it, because you'd be afraid there'd be some sort of indoctrination going on. So that's what's happened to them, and it's obvious to everyone, including some of the shareholders, and some major shareholders have tried and are still attempting a reverse takeover of Disney to try and from within the board to take over Disney and oust the current leader, the current chair of the board, and to change the direction of it. So it's got that serious.
Yes.
And on shareholders' meetings, there are big arguments about it, and the current head of Disney, Bob Iger, has taken to not attending them, I understand, for obvious reasons. So that's the position they're in. And it's got to the extent that they produced live action. We're about to produce a live action version of their most successful movie, Snow White. And they were doing the woke stuff, the nonsense, the madness. The 7 dwarves were no longer dwarves; they were magical creatures. Only one of them was actually a dwarf. So there's dwarf actors out of a job. And the main actor in it, Rachel Zegler, was mouthing off these woke ideas, talking against the idea of romance and against the idea of a normal romantic relationship between a man and a woman. Which was of course, behind the original story, and the man looks after her in the film. I mean, the actual story of Snow White is rather macabre, the original fairy tale, but the film is very family friendly. And so what you have is other rival firms about to take over. There's Bent Key Productions, which has said that it's going to produce a new version. In fact, I believe production is underway. A new version of Snow White that isn't woke, and they even put out a sort of a teaser trailer. So that's coming out, and it affected Disney to such extent that they're reshooting their film.
Yeah,
they've delayed it by a year. So they've lost their way. They've lost these family values, and you can see people. I could see people taking the Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse and doing someone else already, I think, produced horror version of it.
correct.
But you could see them doing something more wholesome and nice, and you could rival the current Mickey Mouse. Oh, this one's nice and safe.
Well, indeed. In fact, to that
values.
point, a trailer for a slasher film, as they call it, featuring a masked killer dressed as Mickey Mouse, was released on the 1st of January, and the day that Disney's copyright had ended. Now, this has been obviously lampooned, but the principle being is that I agree. I think that when I look at Disney and I think of the history of what is achieved in entertainment is outstanding. But what I do worry is that they are losing an audience. And typically the audience covers both young people as well as parents as well. The principle being a family entertainment. And the thing is it's not just about the cinematic side of it. There's also the brands, the merchandising. Of course, there's Disney land and Disney worlds that people experience. So there's a lot that they offer. And I think there's a lot more that they could do. But the principle being is if you lose the family values, if you go away from what the Walt Disney, the man, tried to create, you then dilute what the brand really means. And I think for anyone in business will always know you hold to the heritage of your business. That's really what this is about. So it will be interesting to see how it's rectified. Now, it's going to come on one or two ways. Either they continue to self-destruct, or somebody does actually decide that actually it's time for a change, to go back to those family values and start to build back out. But it'd be interesting to think, for those of our listeners, what do they think of the recent productions of Disney?
Yeah, so let us know. Go to markandpete.com, make sure you're subscribed, and then you can comment on this and every episode. But that's it for Mark and Pete for this week. Catch you next time. That's all, folks.